JK Papers and the Times of India have joined hands to bring to you Auther Awards, India's most coveted Women Author Awards. After a very successful first edition, which saw more than 800 entries across 6 award categories, immersive multi city book reading sessions, and more than 30 eminent personalities getting associated in the awards journey, JK Paper and the Times of India proudly present the second edition of Author Awards. This year, Author Awards also brings to you this video series called Masterclass. Conducted by authors, the intention of this series is to help budding and aspiring writers. So let's begin. I am Shutapa Basu. I am an author, a poet, and a publishing professional. But most of all, I am a bookworm. Since childhood, books have been my favorite friends, especially in those days when there was no TV, there was no gaming, no surfing on the net. There were no adventures that you could go to sitting right there in your room. That was the time that books gave me companion. But today, the world has changed. You have all this and so much more to do that is exciting, that is adventurous. So, in a world like this, so fast tracked, so stressful, do writing, reading, or books have a place? Do they have any importance? I believe that in this fast paced life, where we are running from place to place, event to event, task to task, books, reading, and writing bring stability. They bring calmness to our life. So, when we are feeling as though overwhelmed, we can't take it anymore, all you need to do is just sit down with a book. Whether you're reading it or you're writing it, it will take you to a peaceful spot. And that is what is really needed today. They will make us reflect, they will make us introspect, they will teach us something about ourselves, and they will help us to learn how to think, something that we are losing every day now. I don't even remember when I really started reading it. I was so little. My earliest memory is trying to look for words in my Pinocchio book, which my grandmother read to me and my brother chapter by chapter every day. Possibly I was about 5 years old. And my love story with books began. It pointed me towards an honors degree in English literature from Tagore's Shantiniketan. My next stop was to take my love of books to the children. And then ensued 20 years of teaching in schools all over India. When those children started composing poems and stories, I was thrilled. After that, I went on to design books for school children at Oxford University Press, Encyclopedia Britannica, and now I am at Eupheus Learning, creating books, learning materials, videos, animations for children, everything to do with storytelling. However, when I won the Times of India Write India campaign, that is when my dream of writing books became a reality. Winning that prize convinced me that the writer inside me was not just a fantasy. It was real, and I began my wonderful journey of writing. I started writing those genres which I loved reading first. The first book that I wrote was a psychological thriller, which was received pretty enthusiastically by the readers. Since then, I have written 3 historical novels: Padmavati, The Legend of Genghis Khan, and The Curse of Nadesha. The last book won me the Best Fiction Award in Author Awards 2020. That is an award that I cherish. Not only did it inspire me, it told me that being a woman and a writer was a matter of celebration. As a woman, I knew that I could create life. But this award signified that I could create a world of words which readers would want to read. Thank you, Author Awards. And now I would also like to just express my gratitude to a few people who have stood by me, held my hands during this journey. First is Vinita Nangia, my mentor. Next is, of course, Dipankar Mukherjee, who is my publisher. And then my family, who have put up with my bad moods whenever I'm writing or I'm thinking about a book. And last but not the least, my readers, who have always enjoyed my books, welcomed them with open hands. Thank you so much. Without all of you, this journey would have never been possible. Other than these historical novels, I released two anthologies of short stories this in 2020, Out of the Blue and The Anatomy of Affection. You can read them on Kindle. And in a few days, I hope to launch another book, a new book. It's a cozy mystery called The Cursed Inheritance. It's already out for pre-order. So you can take a look, and if you want to read this book, it's there for you to order. Did you notice that in this journey, it's always been books and books and books and books? Because reading and writing have anchored me, and they have kept me in touch with the reality. They bring peace to my soul. So whatever may be the chaos that is surrounding me, they are a serene island, and I can always escape to it whenever I am overwhelmed. And that is why I feel that reading and writing have become more significant today, more than they were in the yesteryears. Now, I have never taken a formal course in writing, but I have learned as I wrote. And there are certain techniques that I absolutely swear by. And those are the ones that I think I should share with you today. So let me start with the first one. I hope you can see it. Beginning. It's very important how you begin your story. And this is true for all writing, whether that's fiction or it's non-fiction or it's children's stories or it's a blog or it's an essay. How you begin is the reason why a reader will continue to read your story. And how do I pick up that one event which will actually intrigue the reader? So have you read the first chapter of The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Divakaruni? Well, it begins with Draupadi's birth, which was quite different because it was not a natural birth. So that is how she intrigued her readers. When I started writing Padmavati, I thought to myself that what should I begin with? What is it that Padmavati, the name, immediately brings to your mind? And I realized it's Johar. So I began with the Johar scene, where it's very dramatic, where, all these women, old women, young women, even babies, are being burnt in the Johar fire. And I think that was one reason why my readers decided that, yes, they can read on. The second thing is balance. Balance description and narration always. Too much description can become boring, and too much narration can be free-floating. So look at Agatha Christie's thrillers. They are thrillers, but they have description as well as action. So Agatha Christie may be describing a country house, maybe she's describing a street in a city, but she will do it for a paragraph and then immediately action comes in. And that is what makes her books thriller and thrilling. Let's take the example of historical fiction. Historical facts and dates are very important because we are basing our story on them. So we have to, they give us the perspective to the story. So we need to have them both. We need to have the historical facts as well as the fiction. So one way that I do it is, I have done that in the Legends of Genghis Khan. I have done it chapter wise, which means one chapter has the historical event, the second chapter has the story. Now, if a reader is not interested in the history and just wants to read the story, the reader can do that because the story is alternating and the history does not encroach on the story. Another way to do it is to box the historical facts or the historical events. Again, the intention is the same, that we are not encroaching on the story. The story can be read even without those historical boxes, but if anybody wants a reference, they can go to that historical box. So that is one way of doing it. In Dangle, what I did is, I have set it in Manipur, and Manipur is a beautiful place. So what I have done here is I have alternated maybe paragraph wise the description, the natural description, and then brought in the action. So that is again, you can say I have used Agatha Christie's format in trying to balance the narration and the description. Also remember that narration means dialogue. Conversations can display character, they can describe an event in a few words, they can show response to a situation very easily. So dialogue is a format that we must continuously use. And sometimes if you feel the dialogue is becoming too much, then you can use thought processes of the protagonist, or you can use soliloquies and monologues. Look at Charles Dickens' book, Hard Times. When he brings, he introduces Thomas Gradgrind, he wants to show that he is a pompous and a very narrow-minded man. So Thomas Gradgrind is taking a class and he asks a girl her name. She says her name is Sissy. He says Sissy cannot be anybody's name. It must be Cecilia, and you must say Cecilia. And that is how Charles Dickens shows the pomposity of that character. So it can be in various ways that you can show through conversation, through balancing the narration, you can show character as well. So that's why it's very important. This balance is an extremely important part of writing. The third one, which is really very important, is pace. So pace is what? Pace is the tempo at which your plot or your story unfolds. It can begin very leisurely and then it can go to lightning fast. But one thing you must remember, that this element of storytelling is completely genre agnostic. So you are writing a non-fiction, you're writing a fiction, you're writing a short story, everywhere pacing is very, very important. And I'll give you examples of a few films which I'm sure you have seen. So try to think of Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock, or Saving Private Ryan, or even films of yesteryears like The Godfather or Guess Who is Coming to Dinner. Tension grips you from the beginning till the end of these movies, and it's all due to the pacing of the plot. So a few tips as to how we can do that. Use short impact sentences. They can even be one-word sentences. Always use the active voice and describe deeds, movements and gestures. Those are what immediately brings forth the picture in the reader's mind. Keep a focus on the character's goals. Keep setting and dialogue completely relevant to the action in your story. In my book, The Curse of Nadesha, I have wanted to reveal that his wife Firoze knows a secret of his past life, but I don't reveal it altogether. What I do is bit and pieces here and there throughout the plot. I keep revealing a little bit until the complete secret comes out. And that way, I keep my reader hooked. Also, The Curse of Nadir Shah has two stories running parallelly. One is, of course, Nadir's story and the events of his life. The other story is a plot that is being hatched against him. And I keep those chapters very grey. So, until the end of the story, as tension builds up, until the end, until the last scene, the reader does not know who the main plotter is. It's only then that the reader is disclosed the identity. So these are ways how a story's speed can move, and it can become really, really gripping and intriguing, and the reader will continuously keep reading to get to know what is it, what is that secret, what is that, to reach that crisis point. So pacing, that's why, is very, very important for a good story. The next one is I'm sorry. Yeah, now can you see it? It's character. Description of a character must appear more through the actions, gestures, movements, reactions, responses, through other characters' description of that particular character. We should try and avoid a direct description, always. Do you remember Dumbledore from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone? When he's first introduced, he is wearing midnight blue, a color which is very suitable for the greatest wizard in the world. Also, he begins, addressing the new wizards by saying that there is a time for speech making and this is not it, which goes to show that he is humorous. So that is how J.K. Rowling displays the humor in his character. He is very compassionate. And how do we know that? Because he allows a giant with a love for monsters to live in his garden shed. Also, he allows a werewolf to teach his young wizards. So it shows that he's not traditional. He is innovative. He likes to do new things, and he's also compassionate. So these are the ways that we can show a character instead of directly talking about the character. But always remember that we must be consistent. You cannot show a character being kind to an orphan in one scene and then you show him ignoring a beggar in the next scene. So you have to remember that you must be consistent. When I built Nade's character, right at the beginning, I have shown that cruelty is a part of his nature. And how is that? Even when he is giving, he is giving justice and he is giving a punishment to a criminal, the punishment itself is very cruel. And that shows that he did not suddenly become a tyrant. It was always there inside him. That cruelty was always there in his nature. And so that is how I have built certain characters in my books. And finally, we come to the last technique, which is setting. Again, a very important element because a setting does a lot of things. So what is setting? Setting is the physical surrounding, the time period, the season, the date of certain events. Building atmosphere for a scene or an event in any kind of book depends completely on the setting. Let's take a night setting. So we can make the darkness of night terrifying in a thriller. On the other hand, we can make it very romantic by a moonlit night. So night can be used in different ways to bring about an atmosphere, to bring about a mood in your book. Settings also throw light on character and how they change as the story progresses. So let us think of the opening scene of Shakespeare's Macbeth. What do you have? You have a heath, which is an abandoned wasteland. You have these three witches. Witches themselves are socially unacceptable. And what are they discussing? They're discussing the doomed fate of Macbeth. That is the opening scene. In the very next scene, you have a noble praising Macbeth to King Duncan and talking about how noble he is, how brave he is, and his integrity. Now the reader or the viewer starts thinking, which way is it going to go? Is he going to go on this journey to his doomed fate, or is he going to continue remaining noble? So just through the setting, Shakespeare was able to bring about this intrigue in the reader's mind about the character. So it is very important to have the correct setting. Settings also can build character. So in the Legend of Genghis Khan, I have used the setting of a hunt to bring in certain aspects of Genghis Khan's character. So he's a young boy, but he goes on this hunt and he kills his first deer. So the entire story, the entire event of the hunt shows first his skill with weapons. It shows his skill as a leader, and it also shows his love for nature. So this is how I have brought all these things into Genghis Khan's character through that one setting of a hunt. Now let's look at Padmavati again. How did I tell you that Padmavati is an unusual, unique person? So in that Johar scene, while there's chaos around her, people are screaming, women are getting burned, there's this figure who's sitting calmly, serene, sedate. And that is how I bring to the reader her confidence, her conviction of the decision that she has taken, and the fact that she is nobler than the people around her and therefore deserves her niche in history. So I hope that these ideas help you to write, but I must stress on one fact, that one learns while one writes. So I would recommend to you, constantly write, constantly edit, because that is my process. So when I start writing, the first draft that I write, I will keep on improving, keep on editing it. And so many drafts will happen. And my last draft, the one which I would be satisfied with, would be completely, entirely different from the first draft. So I believe that all good writing happens as a matter of practice, as a matter of drilling, as a matter of editing. The more you write, the better you will get at writing. So just keep writing. Thank you so much. Take care.